What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out what I think is going to be a pretty fun video, and that is Americans can't handle these simple things in Europe. This video comes to us from a channel called Messy in the USA, and I believe what we're going to be seeing here are 7 things that cause Americans to be baffled about European culture.
Culture shocks.
Yes,
okay.
Basically European culture shocks.
Okay.
So anyways, guys, very interested to see what these Americans find so baffling about these different parts of European culture. So enough rambling, guys. Let's go and jump in here and check out Americans can't handle these simple things in Europe.
I know the Europeans are getting really sick and tired of the Americans going online and saying, Europe, Europe, Europe. We know. Well, I don't know. I know. I think most of us know. I think most Americans know that Europe is a continent, okay? Most of us know that. When
I hope so.
Online talking about their European summer, darling. When we hear the word Europe alone, just the word Europe, oh, it is the bougiest flex on the people in that country. I'm telling you, I'm not defending any of it. I'm just trying to offer a layer of perspective.
What if I told...
Hold on. I really hope that everyone knows that Europe is a continent.
Well, okay, let's don't get ahead of ourselves. Not everyone.
Yeah, not everyone does,
Not
obviously,
everyone.
but I would hope that most people do, and I would expect everyone in my life knows that. I mean, that's pretty simple thing to know, right?
You would think.
You would think.
What if I told you that most Americans visiting
flood.
Europe walk away shocked, not by ancient castles or cobblestone streets, but by the ice cubes, or rather, the lack of them. From smaller meals and slower dinners to tipping confusion and outlet meltdowns.
This is going too fast.
Yeah, this is going a lot of stuff.
Going too fast for me. I wanted to read them. Americans creating a literal flood using European stuff. It's all the way to the bed.
What?
How does that happen?
I have no idea how that would happen.
Visiting Europe,
Okay, why is the shower situation causing the water to go everywhere? Oh, why is it all flat on one level?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, what is going on here? Like, why is it causing a flood everywhere?
I might cause a flood. I don't know. Like, what are you supposed to do?
I don't understand, like, what is going on? Like, why is it causing a flood? Just because it doesn't have
all flat. Like, there's no drainage. It doesn't look like a, it goes down.
And there's no curtain.
No, might be a glass.
It looks like there's, I don't know. Anyway, not sure.
away shocked, not by ancient castles or cobblestone streets, but
eating my ice that I paid €1 for.
Yeah, I must admit that would be a culture shock because I use a lot of ice. Well, not just paying for it, but I use a ton of ice because I just enjoy it. You know, I enjoy a lot of ice in my beverage, especially soft drinks.
Yeah.
Not water. I actually drink my water without ice. So.
Room temperature, yeah.
Ice cubes. Europe feels like a different world to a lot of Americans. Today, we're breaking down 7 major culture shocks Americans face when visiting Europe. And by the end, I'm asking you, is it culture shock or perspective shock? Let's dive in.
Portion
size. The coffee in
size.
England is actually pretty good. Like, it's really good. The problem is it's in children's size cups. Why? I want to enjoy and sip on my coffee, not sip this in 2 sips and it's gone. And it was expensive. It's freaking £6.
The first thing Americans...
All right, I want to say that as someone who doesn't drink coffee, on the occasion when I've drank it, that's the perfect size cup for me.
For you, but you're not a coffee addict.
That's true. For the average coffee addict, they literally drink like a gallon of coffee a day. That is not me. I probably drink a cup of coffee maybe like once a year.
That does seem really expensive though.
That is a bit expensive. But if you go to Starbucks, you know how much it costs to go to Starbucks?
I know, but they're bigger at least.
They are bigger.
Are you American by any chance?
Things in European McDonald's that brutally shocked me as an expat.
Noticed throughout Europe, the
portion
food looks
sizes.
Smaller.
Curly fries at McDonald's.
The bucket of soda. The value meal the size of your forearm. Portions abroad are meant to satisfy, not sedate. Meals are smaller, balanced, and not only drowning
Is that ice cream?
Yeah. But here's the kicker. Europeans don't leave hungry. They leave content. Meanwhile, in the US, we've normalized 1,500 calorie snacks and call it convenience. It's not that the food is tiny, it's that Americans supersized everything and never looked back.
Very
so
true.
Are Americans
Very true.
obsessed with value or just addicted to quantity over quality?
Probably. By the way, speaking on that, we experienced that when we went to Southeast Asia. Like the portion sizes.
Very much
that was
so.
something that shocked us there.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be as shocked by it now going other places.
And to be fair, I absolutely agree. The portion sizes in your average fast food restaurant is ridiculous. Like I always like they want to upsize your fries, for example, or your drink, for example, and I'm like, it's insane. You want to give me like a bucket to drink out of.
A regular size is like this big.
Yeah,
Like, why do you
I don't need no more than that. Especially here, you get free refills. Why would I need any more than that? But
Also,
you have people leaving with like 64-ounce cups of beverage, and it's just, I can't even imagine drinking that.
Also, I will say, we haven't been to Europe, but when we went to Southeast Asia, we had McDonald's there.
Yeah.
And we don't like McDonald's in the States, but the McDonald's in Thailand was so good.
Yeah,
I think the
it
quality
was.
was so much better.
The quality was much, much better.
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
probably is in Europe too.
But it's like a lot of things we've learned, like they just allow certain ingredients in the food here they don't allow in other areas, specifically Europe. But I also think in a lot of Southeast Asian countries, they also are better with their food standards when it comes to like allowing certain chemicals and things like that into the food. Ice cube controversy. Now that could be a controversy, I can imagine.
All right, quick question for Europeans. What's your beef with iced coffee? Why can't I find a cold brew anywhere? How come when I ask for you to put ice in my coffee, you look at me like I'm covered in vomit? Or you put one ice cube in there? There are 3 ice cubes in this. As far as I'm concerned, this is a hot coffee.
Nothing confuses Americans more than ordering a Coke in Europe and getting barely 3 sad ice cubes. In the US, we want drinks practically frozen solid. In Europe, ice is almost offensive. There's
Really?
I wonder why.
Some Europeans believe ice waters down flavor, and they don't want to pay for frozen water instead of drink. But for Americans, a warm Coke feels downright criminal. Getting iced coffee in Europe is basically a scavenger hunt. Most cafes just don't serve drinks over ice, so your usual iced latte might not exist. When you ask, you often get a confused look, or a tiny splash of milk
what's
in a
that?
glass
Is that
at room
dessert?
temperature. For Americans used to ice-cold caffeine on demand, it can feel like a full-on morning crisis. Could you survive a European summer without your daily iced coffee fix, or is that a non-negotiable? This isn't just about ice, it's about mindset. America loves fast and cold, Europe prefers slow and intentional. Is the obsession with ice about comfort, or just another American habit we can't shake?
Can I meet you in the middle and do slow and cold? You know, like I actually really appreciate the kind of slow dining experience that I've heard is the norm in a lot of European countries. I find that to be a much more enjoyable experience eating when we get the opportunity
You don't
to eat
feel
that
rushed,
way.
yeah.
But here it is like you're constantly rushed when it comes to dining and stuff. It's just, it is a cultural thing, I believe.
Which I don't like.
But when it comes to ice, I don't drink coffee, so I wouldn't be the iced coffee person, but like in a soft drink, I fill my cup up with ice
That's the
all
thing.
the way.
Like, I don't drink a lot of soft drinks, but when I do, I want it very cold.
Yeah, I wanted. There's something about the ice; it changes the flavor to where it actually brings out the flavor and makes it actually taste better.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think there could be a difference. I don't know about every European country, but at least in the UK, for example, you don't get free refills very often on a lot of your beverages.
True. So when you fill the whole cup up with ice, you're barely getting anything.
And I think if I didn't get free refills on things, it would probably be a different experience because it's like now I'm wasting a lot of my beverage. Instead, I'm getting a bunch of ice for the same price. So I totally get that.
Ice for the same price.
Ice for the same price. But if you're getting free refills, it's like it doesn't really matter at that point if you fill it up with ice because you just go back and get a refill and you're drinking the same amount of beverage, you're just having it colder.
Also, I just want to say I would not do that. If I went, like if I was an iced coffee person, I would not go to Europe.
No.
Especially like see how cringe it is and like embarrassing because they don't do it. And like you got to have a whole bowl full of ice.
What is the adage I'm thinking of? Like when you go to another culture, you live as them.
assimilate? Like,
Well, assimilate means you're going to live for a
there,
long period of
yeah.
time. But I'm talking
saying,
about
like,
it's like when in Rome.
Yeah,
you've
do
heard
as
that.
the Romans, yeah.
Yeah, like do as the Romans. And so I kind of think that is a good way to look at traveling in general. No matter where you're at, you should
get
try
the full experience.
Not only for the full experience, but because you don't want to be a burden on the locals compared to how the locals normally live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's pretty important no matter where you go.
Okay, a huge difference between Americans and Italians when it comes to food is that Americans do not slow down and Americans basically don't stop moving.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
perfect examples are that we constantly walk around with like a gallon of water. Our Starbucks coffee is constantly with us. This is stuff you never see in Italy. But even food in general, like we eat anywhere. Like you see people eating in their car, you see people eating at their desk at work, you see people literally eating as they're walking down the street, you see people pulling snacks out of their purse. This is stuff that you see way less when you're walking the streets in Italy. Let me give you a funny example that I didn't even realize this until my husband told me. He's never went to Starbucks and put the lid on his coffee. First of all, he's usually ordering an espresso, but sometimes he will just order a small coffee. He never puts that lid on it. He's never even drank out of it before because he doesn't move with his coffee. Italians either stand there and have their espresso or sit down and have their espresso, but they're never like on the go. You definitely get the vibe in Italy that eating is a relaxing thing, drinking is a relaxing thing,
and it
kind
should
of
be.
socialize,
It should
sit
be.
down. And in America, for most of the day, most people are like just trying to get some food. The only food that I really commonly see Italians walking around with would be a gelato after dinner during their after dinner stroll. Comes to food, if you want to do it like an Italian, just slow down and stop moving, unless it's a leisurely stroll.
In America, you sit, order, eat, pay, leave. In Europe, you sit, talk, linger, enjoy. Dining in Europe isn't a transaction. It's an experience. Waiters don't rush you out because turning tables fast isn't the goal. And here's what really blows Americans' minds. You have to ask for the check. It's not just slapped down after 10 minutes. Because to Europeans, that's rude. But Americans, we get anxious. Where's the waiter? Why is no one ringing the bill? That's not bad.
Did you see that? It said it's not uncommon to sit for 3 hours.
3 hours?
You've asked for the check, and it's not uncommon to sit for 3 hours at dinner.
Okay, that's a little slow for me.
That's a while, especially if you got breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, I don't want to be sitting that long.
But I totally like the idea of slowing it down compared to what we normally do here in the States on average.
And it's true, they do. Like when you're at a restaurant here in the U.S., especially at lunchtime, which I see the benefit because a lot of people don't have a long lunch break.
Don't have much lunch
so
break.
they are kind of in a rush here. But they do, like they'll put the check down and be like, no rush.
But I think
get out.
I think that's part of where the culture, when it comes to fast eating, begins. Like in school, in elementary school, you get like 25 or 30 minutes for lunch.
I know, I hate that.
And then when you usually, for most jobs, usually you get like 30 minutes for lunch.
If you have
as
a
well.
really good job, sometimes you get an hour.
You might get an hour. You might, right? But most time it's like 30 minutes for school and then work, right? And so people just get used to it. And if you do that over those many years of being a kid, especially,
it just trains you to be in that rush mindset while you're eating.
right? And then then everybody's just so busy here in general that dinners tend to be just like get it in and move on with your stuff because you got so many different after school activities and things constantly going.
That is the one thing that like I won't say the one thing, but one of the things that really bothers me about American culture is how rush, go it is.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that.
We definitely need to slow down more. And I feel like we do a better job than a lot of Americans
We do, but as our society isn't set up for that, it makes it harder for us to be like that because
it does. Yeah. It does. An example is you are rushed out of a restaurant. Not like they're telling you to get out, but they are nudging you in a way with here's the check. And yeah, it's true.
No one ringing the bill. That's not bad service.
Well, maybe
That's
eat a
time to make memories.
salad
Would you rather have
on your
fast,
20-minute
efficient
break
service
next year,
or
enjoying that
slower
lunch.
social meals?
Tipping culture in America versus Europe is so crazy.
Yes.
And so different.
It is
Tipping in the
crazy
US
here.
is basically required. The percent is rising every single time I go out. Like, it's actually crazy that I usually would leave 20% tip if they're good and like 15% if they're not so good. I have been seeing 25 starting, 30, 35. Huh? 35%. Half
Yeah.
the restaurants we have eaten at, when you pay with your credit card, it doesn't even give you an option to leave a tip on the card. If you want to leave a tip, you can leave cash on the table, but it's usually not mandatory or required. It's like, hey, thank you so much. This was awesome. In Europe, they don't really expect it. It's just really, really nice to do.
Let's explore a cultural curveball that trips
hate
up
I hate those
almost
machines.
every American. Tipping. In America, you have to tip, or you're basically a villain. 15%, 20%, 25%. The math gets worse every year. In Europe, it's optional, a polite gesture, sometimes even refused. That's because servers are typically paid real wages.
I experienced that when I've gone to Southeast Asia, and I experienced what they just said there. Do you read that?
The guilt from
Yes, the U.S. guilt.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I even feel it like when it's now like at the kiosk thing, like let's say you just go into a Subway or something and you get a sandwich or a coffee place and they have the tip on just for the cashier, like ringing you up, and it's like, I feel guilty not tipping them because it comes up and it's like, why?
It's gotten to the point that it's like, I've never had a problem, probably because I live in this culture, was raised in this culture where just tipping has been the norm my entire life. But I've never had a problem tipping, the 20% or 15% or whatever for at a restaurant or someone delivering me food or something like that. No big deal, right? But it's gotten to the point that you go to an ice cream shop and literally they're not getting paid the waiter wage. They're getting paid their regular wage. And they literally have the tip thing. And then they look at you so weird if you don't tip, because most people do at this point.
Because it's expected.
And then like you'll call up a barbecue restaurant and then place a to-go order. And then you'll go there to pay. And it's got that tip thing. It's like,
Yeah.
dude,
Like, why would I
you
do-
literally
I
just
didn't
bagged
eat
up my
here.
food.
Yeah.
I didn't eat here. I didn't get served. And it's like the tipping thing has got out of control in the U.S. for sure.
Yeah.
Refused. That's because servers are typically paid real wages.
One nice thing about being American traveling in Paris is that you could go to a restaurant, and because there's no tipping culture here, you could give like a dog shit tip, like 10%, and they act like you just bought them a Tesla. I gave a waiter this like €3 tip. He acted like I saved his family from a burning building.
Tipping isn't a survival mechanism, it's a small thank you. When Americans try to tip 20%, some locals think it's strange or assume we're showing off. Should the U.S. keep or get rid of tipping culture entirely? Drop your take. This one's gonna start a fight in the comments.
I feel like Europe wins that one.
Yeah, I do too. I just want to say,
But we need to raise the wages.
Right, we need
if
to.
we're going to get rid of this.
The issue here is that the people, waitresses, and a lot of times the people that are delivering your food make absolutely horrible wages because they're literally depending on tips. So that's why I don't mind tipping in those situations, right? But it's the people who are getting paid a normal wage and then just expecting everybody to tip when you literally did not even serve me. You just rang me up at the cash register. It's like, what am I tipping someone who just rang me up at the cash register for?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we could go on and on about that topic.
Look at everybody staring.
Accidentally drive through pedestrian area.
Oh no.
Oh gosh.
You should drive through that tunnel right there.
Oh no, that is so bad.
Go back the way you came, please.
Take a left.
Yeah, careful, careful, careful.
Watch out for people, though. Yes.
Watch out for people, yeah.
Oh no.
And you know what the sad part is about this?
What?
It's not even phasing the locals because this probably happens a lot. Oh my gosh.
I could.
Don't, no, just go away. No. Please.
This is not.
Oh no.
It's right there.
American roads are typically wide and built for comfort. Street, spacious lanes, massive parking lots.
60 mile per hour road.
European roads, on the other hand, can be another story. Narrow streets and cars that look like toys, parked by small curbs.
Oh
Parallel
my
to a
goodness.
street with barely enough room for a bicycle, that's basically a European rite of passage. Traffic rules can be confusing too. Different signs, different different speed limits, tolls, and more. But Europeans argue all of this makes them better drivers, more precise, patient, and aware. Who do you think are better drivers, Americans or Europeans? And while you're at it,
Probably
what's the
Europeans.
wildest driving experience you've ever had abroad?
Well, to be fair, I'm a very good driver.
You are.
I am.
But in conditions like that,
The
you're
only
not used
the
to it.
only driving experience we've had outside this country is in countries in Southeast Asia. And
Which was very scary.
that was scary. Okay, if you want to go to around an area where driving is a very, or riding even with cab drivers and stuff is a very scary experience, go there.
They've got it down, to
They do.
their own rhythm, but
You will literally see some family, like a mother and a father, pass you going, I don't know how fast, on a motorbike with a baby sitting on the back without a helmet on.
yeah,
And they're just
then
chilling.
another two kids like in the middle standing up. It's like
First time we saw that, experienced that, it was just mind blowing. We were like, what? And then we noticed it was like just the norm, and it's like, well, but I must say that that was scary.
We're gonna try Brooks sharp.
Oh, no.
At the European outlet.
No.
It
No.
blows up, or whatever. The voltage is different, so we're gonna see if it works.
So let's do
We're
it.
gonna try here.
Oh gosh.
Okay, we'll try it. Oh, it works. It works? Yeah. Fire up. Maybe it's a myth. Or maybe it's because the hotel has different voltage. We'd probably blow up our place for sure. Our house would blow up. Oh yeah, look at that.
Every American in
No,
Europe
I thought what they were doing was trying to plug in a plug that didn't fit the prong.
Yeah.
That's what. Obviously, that's not what they were doing. They must have had an adapter.
The hotel they were at probably had like some kind of.
Yeah, it had some kind of
Yeah.
adapter. Okay.
But no one told you Europe had different outlets.
has had that same meltdown moment. You pull out your phone charger and it doesn't fit. Welcome to the world of different outlets.
I just want to say, you know what's crazy about this? Like, we went over to Southeast Asia with no experience at all, and we literally knew to go ahead and get an adapter because it would be a different plugs.
Yeah, but I feel like it's because we researched a little bit.
But that's the point. Why is the world done by researching when they go over and like, oh wait, we need. There's different outlets. We need to make sure that we have an adapter.
Assuming that everything's the same.
Right?
In
Like,
every
what
country.
is? Why do people not research this stuff? It's not that hard.
Most of Europe uses 220 volts instead of 110.
Yeah.
Different shape, different size, different system. And every time Americans think, why can't the world just pick one? But Europeans argue they picked first. The US just never changed. It's one of those perfect metaphors. America
Man, look at
built
that.
its own system, refused to adapt, and now acts confused when the rest of the world doesn't match. Should the world agree on one universal outlet or keep their national systems?
Did nobody warn me that there's no AC in Europe? Like, I feel like I'm baking on a daily basis. I feel like I'm about to be a heat casualty out here.
And finally, the deal breaker for many Americans, no air conditioning. Europeans will open a window, use a fan, and call it a day, while Americans melt into puddles wondering how anyone survives summer without central AC.
No air conditioning in your stores. No air conditioning in your home. Okay, no air conditioning in the bus is a I can't understand why it is this way in Lucerne. I am melting.
But here's the thing. Buildings are older and constructed with thick walls designed to naturally regulate temperature. Energy costs are higher, and there's more concern about sustainability. Meanwhile, Americans crank AC year-round and freeze themselves in July. So when Europeans visit the U.S., they're the ones shivering.
Be honest, could you survive an entire Euro summer without AC? So, after all this, who's really strange? Europeans with smaller meals, slower dinners, and no tipping? Or Americans who need everything bigger, colder, faster, and more convenient? Maybe neither. Maybe
Oh my
it's
gosh.
just two versions of comfort. One built on efficiency, the
What is
other
that?
on
I
don't
experience.
know.
But here's what's undeniable. Americans travel expecting the world to feel like home. And when it doesn't, they think the world's broken. What's the biggest culture shock you experienced abroad? Or
See, that is personally something I totally disagree with.
What?
This idea that you should travel and be able to go everywhere and it feel like home. The point of traveling is to actually go places that don't feel like home.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's like if no matter what country I go to, I do not expect it to feel like my home. I expect it to be different in so many ways. The culture is going to be completely different in many ways. The food's going to be different. The languages, the way people live their lives. And sometimes the differences are going to be small, but other times they're going to be much different from what you experience at home.
And if you're not open to being adaptable, you shouldn't go and just expect all these other places to cater to your needs as an American or whoever.
I completely agree. You know, it's just unfortunate that some people, I don't know, they just don't understand that concept of like, you know, the world doesn't revolve around you and where you're from.
Right.
You know, everywhere's different. And, you know, that's the beauty of travel is to experience the things that are different.
Yeah.
You know, like when we come over to the UK and to different countries in Europe, we want to experience the differences. You know, that's why you're traveling.
Well, not everyone, apparently.
Not everyone. You know, it makes me wonder, what are people traveling for if they want to visit places?
Pictures and be able to say they went. I don't know.
I guess so. But anyways, guys, this was really, really interesting. I love looking at things like this, just kind of like real world topics of culture shocks and whatnot that people are experiencing.
I think it makes us feel a little bit better about ourselves because we don't really tend to do the really horrible thing.
No, like, because I totally believe in this concept of like, you know, embracing the local culture wherever you go, right? I believe in, like, for example, I wear a hat here all the time inside, right? But if I went to somebody's house over in the UK, for example, I'd take my hat off because that's the cultural norm there. You know, here that's not the cultural norm, but there it is. And therefore I respect that part of their culture that I know of. Of course, there's going to be things that culturally you may not know about, but hopefully you figure those things out if you're, you know, in a place for a long enough period of time.
Yeah.
But guys, anyways, I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey. Until next time, peace.
Bye.